What is going on, guys? I hope you're all doing good. Me and Austin are back at it, and today we are looking at the long-awaited, highly anticipated.
We'll all fly away together into the forever and beautiful sky.
As we've said before, as we've talked about before, we are both huge fans of James Gunn's work, and we loved the previous Guardians movies. So we had incredibly high expectations for this one. It was number one on my most anticipated list, and number two on Austin's. As far as my thoughts on the movie go, I am incredibly happy to report that I thought this movie was phenomenal, a great ending for these characters, and a great ending for this trilogy. And I honestly think that this trilogy like tops the Captain America trilogy as the best MCU trilogy, and I think it's a great ending for James Gunn's also a great ending for James Gunn's tenure at Marvel before he moves over to DC full time.
Oh man, you talking about it just makes me sad sitting here thinking because
I know.
you said is correct. This movie is unbelievable. It has so much emotion and it is a perfect conclusion to what feels like this feels like the most complete trilogy
Hmm.
out of Marvel, not just in terms of like every movie is solid, but also like in terms of a story. Like you can watch all three and get a great story throughout and it feels coherent between all three and the characters grow and they change and they have arcs throughout the entire trilogy. It's amazing the work that James Gunn does. And he is just the master at emotion, and this movie is full of it. Bring a couple tissues if if
Hmm.
you get a little sad.
Oh
It's
yeah.
very it's a gut punching movie because it's sad. I mean, he does a great job at pulling emotion out of people and getting the best from his actors. Everyone in this movie does a great job. I think Dave Bautista's the highlight once again. I think
Hmm.
he's absolutely kills it as Trags. My favorite Guardian, probably honestly, maybe my favorite MCU character now.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. I also think that everybody in the cast did a great job and really gave it their all for this last hurrah and everything. Like Chris Pratt is great as Star Lord, Dave Bautista once again. I love Palm Clementif as Mantis and her chemistry with Drax and Star Lord. Karen Gillan is awesome as Nebula, and I love the growth that Nebula has gone through over the course of the MCU. I think Nebula honestly might be one of my favorite characters like in the entire MCU. Like that's how good I think her character is, and uh and and the way that she's written and portrayed.
Completely agreed. Karen Gillian and just her acting is phenomenal, but also the story that Nebula's been through. It's such a, like I was saying, characters change, characters
Hmm.
grow, and you get to see that throughout this. I mean, it's been what first Guardians came out in 2014, so it's been 9 years
Yeah,
of development that we went through. And I think you're right. And Nebula, Karen Gillian has the most growth probably, and has just the most. It's a heartbreaking story, but it's so awesome to see where she ends up and where the whole cast ends up. I mean, this is a movie that I did not expect it to go the way it did, but looking back on it, I'm so happy with every decision made,
hmm
every uh, every little strategic move that James Gunn does. It all pays off in the end. And going back and watching the two previous films, which I've done recently,
hmm
every little moments just hit a little harder, knowing the way this movie ends up and
yeah.
what some of our characters have been through. So James Gunn is great. Marvel sold the bag by firing him in 2018. I bet they could
I
take that. I bet they wish they could take that move back.
Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah.
And now he will be running their
Yeah.
competitor
Yeah, it's
in 2
crazy.
years' time.
I know. I also really enjoyed Zoe Saldana as Gamora, and the way that they handled they handled that storyline and handled the fact that this is not the Gamora that we know or that the characters know like this is the alternate timeline Endgame Gamora since like present day real Gamora like died in Infinity War. I really like the arc of both Star Lord and Nebula having to deal with that because Star Lord is having to deal with and accept the fact that that this is not the Gamora they fell in love with, and is having to let go of those previous emotions, and Nebula is having to navigate this new dynamic with her sister. Because right when they were finally when they were finally starting to get along, and when they were united, and taking out Thanos, Gamora's life was taken, and now Nebula, with all the knowledge that she now has and all the growth that she's gone through, is trying to interact with this Gamora who still doesn't who's still like at that point, who still doesn't really get along with Nebula, and doesn't think highly of Nebula, and has no idea who Star Lord is, and or anything about her past with him, or her past with any of the Guardians.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought that whole situation with Star-Lord, Nebula, and Gamora, but Star-Lord and Gamora especially, it could have been James Gunn could have taken it in a such generic route in a way that played it safe, and he decided not to. He decided to, I think, a more realistic
Hmm.
and like something that makes more sense in the natural world of Gamora, sort of being hesitant, like, hey, like I don't know you, like we know everything you've been through, we haven't been through, and I love that he didn't just decide to go the generic way, the way that everyone was expecting. It goes a different direction, and it's wonderful the way he handles Gamora and Star Lord's relationship. And another thing that I really love talking about the Infinity War and Endgame sort of stuff is in this movie you kind of get to see how close Nebula and Rocket got,
Yeah.
since everybody else was snapped away in Infinity War, but Nebula and Rocket were left behind together, and they bonded, they formed a friendship, and it's cool to see James Gunn taking the stuff from the bigger cinematic universe that he's
Hmm.
probably not a fan of. I mean, I don't know, not, but and he's taking those elements and he's bringing them into his stories, and he's using them to elevate his stories, and it's so well done. That's the plus side of this whole thing being a universe that we
Hmm.
get to, that everything is shared and connected.
Yeah. And getting to see these different perspectives on these characters from these different filmmakers, and these different creators. I also thought that Will Poulter was really cool as Adam Warlock, even though he didn't get like nearly as much screen time as I thought he would, considering like how much he was set up in that post credit scene in Volume 2. Like but I still thought he was really cool. Like both visually, like, and the performance, and I appreciate the arc that he went through.
Yeah, I like Will Poulter as well. He has I think he is great as Adam Warlock. He will be great for Adam Warlock for many years to come,
Hmm.
and he probably has the funniest joke in the movie, I think. So there you go.
Yeah.
I loved him as Adam Warlock.
Yeah. The main standouts of this movie, both character and actor wise, are Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon and Chukwudi Iwuji. I really hope I said that correctly. As the High Evolutionary, like the main emotional center, or centers of this movie are Rocket Raccoon, his backstory, and his rivalry with the High Evolution. Because with the High Evolutionary, yeah, we get several flashbacks showing Rocket's backstory, which before we've only gotten hints about. But this film, we get to see that. We get to to see that backstory, and see how Rocket becomes the character that he is now, and all the scenes are just absolutely heart-wrenching, and Bradley Cooper, and the other voice actors, that I believe Sean Gunn, and some other guy, like, voicing like the young Rocket, like all three of them do a phenomenal job of selling really selling Rocket's emotions in those scenes and in the rest of the movie. And I thought the High Evolutionary was a great villain. Like, this guy is just the biggest, most evil, most irredeemable douchebag, and as much as I love like nuanced and understandable villains, like, Killmonger, Namor, the Flag Smashers, etc. I also at the same time like really miss and love villains that just chew the scenery, like they want to hurt people and just take over the world, and are just like evil for the sake of being evil. The actor, the actor did a great job. He was really good. He was really good in Peacemaker as well. And I really want I really want to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, he is phenomenal in this movie, and every scene he is in is just like it. You cannot take your eyes off of his acting, because it's like it is character acting, but it's also physical acting. His body and his mind are completely into this role, and it is phenomenal. I've actually done some research on him, and I've found out that he's like a stage actor. He's done a lot of Broadway stuff, and he
Wow.
brought that into his performance here, and I completely see it. It is awesome. Apparently, a lot of Shakespeare,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
him be able to play this role, and he is He is unbelievable in it. One of the best villains in the MCU, I think. And I think you're right. It's nice to just have an evil asshole.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a guy that's evil, and that's it.
Yeah, man.
And we're rooting for the good guy. This is a movie. This is a movie that is sad, and because of the storyline, it's very clear who's doing bad stuff.
Hmm.
There's no like you said, there's no nuance here. It's that guy's
Yeah,
bad. We need to take him down. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. Let's take him down.
that's
But
right.
his acting is great, and God, this whole movie's great. I mean, we can sit here and talk positives forever.
Like this film had, the perfect emotional moments, the perfect amount of heart, like the perfect amount of humor. Cause like the humor that like often lands, but also does not like overstay its welcome, or like undercut a dramatic scene, which I so appreciate. Cause the dramatic scenes in this movie, the heavy stuff, they're allowed to to be those scenes, and you're allowed to like take a second to breathe, and they're not like and they're not they're not like undercut with a stupid joke, with a stupid joke, which I really appreciate. And I've always thought that James Gunn I've always thought that James Gunn did a really good job of balancing of balancing his like typical sense of humor with more serious, more dramatic moments.
Yeah, definitely. You can see if you go back and watch like Volume 1 and then come back and watch this movie, James Gunn has changed so much in the way he makes movies, and you can tell he's a lot more mature. At least I think from this story, he's
Yeah.
matured as an adult.
Hmm.
Um, Especially go back and watch something like Super. Like this is a completely different dude. This is
Yeah.
not the filmmaker who made Super.
Don't steal. Don't deal drugs. Don't molest kids.
So it's really awesome to see like us as humans.
Hmm.
We've gotten older. We've grown up with these characters, and so has James Gunn. He's grown up with us, and I wish some other projects in the MCU would take notes
Uh-huh.
on maturing with your audience. So yeah, this movie is absolutely phenomenal, and it's great.
Yeah. I love the cinematography as well. The effects were really good. Like you could tell that they really took their time on these. And the effects on Rocket and the other animals in particular are really good. Because just like like the textures and the expressions on the various animals, like Rocket Raccoon, like looks damn near like a real raccoon at times, and it's absolutely amazing. It's got great action. It's got great action scenes. Great soundtrack choices. There's that one action scene that's like in the hallway that's set to Beastie Boys, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. That I thought was awesome because I love that song. I love Beastie Boys, and I'm also a sucker for like a super for like a super like stylistically filmed fight scene. Because like what's cool about it is that it's like this hallway scene. It's like a one shot thing that we've seen a lot of, but it's done in like a cool way. To where like the camera keeps moving and like the camera keeps moving in like but in like a smooth way, and like each guardian that gets their chance to shine, gets their cool moment to where they get to like slice open the bad guy, and like this, and like this film was also like surprisingly like really violent at points, and like I'm surprised that that James Gunn was able to get away with as much as he did in this film. So yeah, that scene was so that scene was awesome, and so many of the other action scenes, and the other scenes that incorporate music, especially with the end thing, which I can't wait to talk about. Like so many of those are just so good. This movie gives you everything you expect and want from a Guardians movie, and gave me everything I could have possibly wanted from a conclusion to this trilogy. Like this movie not only lived up to but exceeded my expectations. And honestly, I can't really think of anything. I really can't think of anything to complain about. Like, this movie's 2 hours and 30 minutes, but to me to me at least, it did not feel long at all. And I thought that all the characters got really satisfying arcs, and this and the film made me sad. But also like really happy. Like it was it was both heartbreaking and bittersweet. But also kind of uplifting at the same time. And this is also the first MCU film that I've seen in a while that, like, to me at least, that had like real genuine stakes and emotional weight, and had several points where you were like really fearing for the characters' lives, and there was like a sense of of uncertainty that we don't usually get, a sense of uncertainty of whether or not the characters are going to make it out of the various situations that they're in. I'm giving this a strong 5 out of 5. I think James Gunn knocked it out of the park once again, and yeah, go see it.
Completely agree, man. Go see it. I do have a couple of issues, but they're very small. One of them makes me very upset though, and it's just because it's a joke that didn't land for me. It rubbed me the wrong way. My first viewing, I did not like it, and then I saw it again. I didn't like it even more. And it's just because I think Drax is such a personal character to me. I find like not relating to him, but I understand his. It's just like I connect with Drax. Me and him are connecting. He's my favorite Guardian, and his bond that he's formed with Mantis over Volume 2 and Guardians 3, like you can tell these guys, they are very friends. And so a part of Drax on why she, thinks he is so valuable and he is just a big part of the team for this reason. And then Drax like notably got upset because someone he cares about and someone who respects is calling him stupid.
Yeah,
And you could Kelly kind of got really upset, and then she was just like, "Forget," and then they played it off for a gag.
yeah, like
But just for me, someone who really loved their dynamic and loved their connection with one another, just to see it all kind of like they had a nice moment, and then to flick it away with the forget, and it paid off with a joke. The joke didn't land for me, so I didn't like that moment, but that's very tiny of a moment.
yeah, I agree. That was weird. It fell off to me that moment. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't expect like Drax in Volume 2. Drax was being mean to Mantis, but he was doing it because he's literal. That's his whole thing. He wasn't
yeah,
doing it on purpose. And he told her at the beginning of the movie, you're beautiful on the inside, because it was the whole joke. She's
yeah,
ugly or whatnot. And then in Volume 3, she is defending Drax, and he gets upset. Like this dude he's like, don't call me stupid. I don't like that. And then it's just like the whole forget thing. Just, but that's one joke I didn't like out of what 40. Like I mean, just
yeah,
all the jokes are great.
yeah. That's a good record. Yeah,
Yeah, good, very good record. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I would give this a 9.5
Mhm.
or 4.5 stars out of 5, which is a 9 out of 10. I
Yeah.
wish I could give it 4.75 of a star, but that thing. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for me. Amazing movie. You definitely go see it. I think the hallway fight you were talking about is worth the price of admission alone.
Mhm.
And this movie is just, it has so much stakes to it, has so much weight, it has emotion, it has heart. This movie has passion,
Yeah.
and that's what matters. It doesn't feel like Ant-Man we just watched. This feels like a passion project and something that
Mhm.
people spent years making, and you can
Yeah.
tell. But James Gunn just has so much passion for this movie, and I feel like it showed from the moment it started until the last post-credit scene ended. Can't recommend it enough. And then, but their ending scene of them saying their goodbyes, man. Oh man,
Oh yeah, man.
we should talk
The,
about that scene. The dog days are over.
oh my God, man. Yeah. I can't stop listening to that song now, and every single time, but I get a little emotional because like it's like the soundtrack to the Guardians, to some of the different Guardians, like going their separate ways. Like Star-Lord, decides to go back to Earth, to see how the rest of his family is doing. Because earlier in the film, like Mantis, questions Star-Lord on why he hasn't wondered, why he hasn't wondered about Earth, and why he hasn't gone back and to or thought about his remaining family. I thought that was a really great way um to wrap up Star Lord's arc. Him reuniting with his grandfather was great. Mantis deciding to go her own path. To really find herself. Rocket being promoted to a team captain was a really great choice. Having Nebula and Drax stay on stay on nowhere to look after the kids, all the kids they rescued from the High Evolutionary. Because we find out because we find out in the movie that not only is he still experimenting on animals, but he's also like experimenting on kids, which is just like absolutely brutal. So they rescue all these kids, and Nebula and Drax are on nowhere to look after them, and then the final moment of like Rocket Rocket taking Peter Quill's Zune, the music player, music player, putting on Dog Days Are Over, and playing over the intercom. Like that's another thing I thought was cool. How on Nowhere, like Rocket would play the songs on the Nowhere intercom. So Dog Days Are Over starts playing, like, and Groot starts dancing, and then Rocket joins him and starts dancing, and Drax and Mantis, that have their little goodbye. Then Nebula starts dancing, which I thought was awesome. But because we see Nebula, grow from being this, this like super like uptight and mean person, and someone who didn't like Rocket, didn't like the Guardians, and now going on to share like a triumphant dance off with them, and I thought that entire ending scene was absolutely beautiful, and just a phenomenal note for this film to go out on.
Yeah, agreed completely. That last scene, Dog Days Are Over, is so powerful, so amazing. Like you said, it is beautiful for that ending to happen. Seeing Drax dancing after everything he's been through, seeing
Yeah.
Nebula happy, Nebula putting her hands up in the air and screaming that she's happy, like finally, and like the song says it, the dog days are over.
Yeah.
Like all the bad stuff is behind them. They beat Thanos. They conquered Rocket's past. Killed the High Evolutionary. It is just powerful stuff. And seeing Peter get a nice ending, Gamora's with what we was talking about earlier with James Gunn could have like went generic, like I said, and had Gamora and Peter get back together, but instead he chose the route of like, it's okay to learn to move on and learn to, if you fall out of love with someone, you can move on, you can learn and grow past from that. It was just a great ending, I think, for them. Gamora's back with her people, with Sylvester Stallone, best guy in the movie.
Yep.
And then Rocket, Rocket. It ends with Rocket screaming like happy, like it's.
Yeah.
I was crying during that scene.
Oh yeah.
Completely. I had tears in my eyes, tears rolling down my face when Drax started dancing. I lost it, and then Groot screaming, Cosmo's barking. It's
Yeah.
a great scene, and it's so powerful, and it's just wonderful. It really is.
And I also love that one moment where Star-Lord is passing on the captain title to Rocket, and they're all like, giving the salute to they're all giving the salute to Rocket, and then Groot says like, "I love you guys," instead of "I love you guys," instead of "I am Groot," which I thought was like such a great moment, and a great note for that character to go out, and for that character to go out on, and go out on. And I saw James Gunn confirm in like interview or in an interview or on Twitter, like that moment is like that moment is basically the audience, finally like understanding what Groot is saying. Yeah. So I thought that was really awesome.
I would love that. I really like that he confirmed that. I would love like a cut of the trilogy that has Vin Diesel actually saying what Groot was supposed to say throughout
Yeah.
the films. That would be I would love a cut like that to see, because apparently, like, I read this from James Gunn, an interview he did. Apparently, like, in Vin Diesel's script, he knows what Groot's saying, but no one else does. Everyone else says "I am Groot," but Vin Diesel says what Groot actually says. So I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Yeah. The final scene with Dog Days Are Over was fantastic. The hallway scene with No Sleep Till Brooklyn was awesome. And my other favorite scene that incorporates music is the opening scene with this awesome acoustic version of a Radiohead Creep. And I think that really sets the tone of the movie, and shows that that's going to be like a much darker, much more emotional film.
Yeah, for sure. That acoustic version of Creep is phenomenal, and I listened to it earlier today, and it was giving me goosebumps listening to it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing song, and I like that. You're right. The movie starts out immediately telling us exactly what kind of movie it's going to be.
All the flashbacks with Rocket, especially the last one, are just absolutely devastating. And the scene where Rocket finally realizes that that the High Evolutionary like is not doing this for the greater good. He's like doing these experiments for like for like torturous like for torturous evil purposes. So Rocket takes these parts, makes this like escape device, like and breaks him and his friends that he's made, and then Lila the Auto gets shot. And in some phenomenal voice acting from Bradley Cooper, Rocket just like just like screams and cries in pain and heartbreak. And then eventually, then eventually, just like leaps forward and like jumps the High Evolutionary, just like scratching and clawing and scarring the shit out of his face, and then to the point where he has to have that neat like rubber mask, and that later on gets ripped off, and we see just how much damage Rocket has caused. Yeah, he then then takes High Evolutionary's gun, shoots more guards, and then and then then runs away, then flies off in the ship, and and that's how we and that's how it ends up, and seeing and seeing Rocket's backstory and Rocket growing up like that, and foreshadowing how he ends up dealing with the conflict at the end of the film. Like I thought those scenes were just masterful, and I also love that scene where they're evacuating the kids from the High Evolutionary ship, and Rocket notices and like the room full of other animals that are still being experimented on, and comes across this cage full of raccoons, and that he sees he sees like the sign that says they're from like North America, and that the raccoons, and then so he tries to rescue all the raccoons, and the guardians and the rescuing all the animals. Then the High Evolutionary catches them. That they have a little fight. Great moment where before he shoots the High Evolutionary, the name's Rocket Raccoon, which I thought was awesome. Because in the earlier films, he's like I'm not a raccoon. Don't call me a raccoon. And now he's like now he's embraced that part of himself, and like that. And that entire like third act climactic battle on the high with the High Evolutionary and like all those creatures and the ship was just so freaking cool, and so full of so full of great emotion and great action, great drama, and everything was just pitch perfect in there.
Yeah, easily. Everything you're saying is just 100% correct. This movie is full of amazing moments, amazing scenes. The scene where Rocket finds out he's a raccoon and he's looking at all the animals, that's heartbreaking. It's emotional, and then Rocket saying we have to save them. Then they save every animal, which is awesome. They save every single person on that ship. It is awesome. The whole Guardians teaming up, like Rocket says, "I'm Rocket Raccoon." Shoot. At him, they're all beat him up. And then I like the line where Drax is like, kill him, and he's like, I'm a guardian of the galaxy.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna kill him. I'm gonna let the ship blow him up, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
I also really enjoyed like I mentioned before, the arc that Adam Warlock goes through, because when we first see him, like his mission from the High Evolutionary and the Sovereign, his mission from them is to take Rocket Raccoon and like take him out. He spends most of the movie just trying to take out the Guardians, but then eventually it gets to a point where Adam Warlock doesn't really like the High Evolutionary or the Sovereign anymore, and he even ends up taking the taking the surviving pet of one of the surviving animal of one of the Ravagers as a pet, like ends up taking that animal like under his wing, and then eventually and then eventually Adam Warlock gets involved in the final act battle, and we see him we see him show up and we see him show up like after we think he's been blown up, we see him show up on the High Evolutionary ship, but then he gets saved, and Warlock is like why are you saving me? I tried to kill you, and I tried to kill you, and Drax says everybody deserves a second chance, which I thought was really good, and I also think, and maybe this is me reaching, but I think that kind of mirrors that kind of mirrors like what happened, and a lot of the story like it kind of mirrors what happened to James Gunn in real life, and with the whole with the whole like stupid controversy that happened with him getting fired, and his cast and all the cast and the cast and crew and the cast and crew like rallying behind him, and they're like this not the same guy, like those things were over, those things were were years ago, and yeah, I feel like I definitely think there was like an intentional parallel, um, with with the themes of like of like growth and of growth, moving on, and redemption in this film.
I definitely think there's a lot of themes there. I don't think that's reaching at all. I think you could easily say that James Gunn kind of took his life experiences and put them into this movie. With like you said, the themes of redemption, moving on, growing something, just growing as a person.
Hmm.
It's basically this movie has humanity, and
Yeah.
it treats us. I know we're dealing with aliens and outer space, but it's human stories in a sci-fi world, and it's great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should talk about the new Guardians.
Oh yeah. I thought that was neat. So the first post credit scene that has the new lineup of Guardians with Rocket as a captain, Kraglin, Gru, Adam Warlock, Cosmo, the creature that Adam Warlock took in, and one of the kids that they rescued. I looked it up, and apparently the character's name is Phyla. And in the comics, she has connections to a Captain Marvel, so I'm definitely curious and to see what they're gonna do with her character in the future, and like maybe she'll show up in the Marvels or a potential Captain Marvel 3. Like we'll see what happens there. So we got this new lineup, and I love him. And I love that scene where they're discussing all the songs on Quill's Zune, and they're discussing they're discussing their favorite music acts. Like a Cracklin says Garth Brooks, Phyla says yeah, and like Phyla says Britney Spears and Corn, and then Rocket and a great callback to the first film plays come and get your love by Redbone, which is the first song, and which is the first song we hear in the first Guardians movie, and pretty much like the introduction to the Guardians world, and to a Peter Quill.
Yeah, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
So they got that song playing, and they're off on a mission, and I thought that was really cool, and I'm definitely curious to see what they're gonna do with that, like if they are gonna do anything with that, and I saw James Gunn say that he would love to see something like that, from a different creator, from a different creator, a different director, as long as as long as they don't try to imitate and ape what's come before in the Guardians films, and that as long as it feels and as long as it feels fresh.
Yeah, for sure. Phi Lavelle is a really cool comic character, so I'm really excited that she is in the fold here with but in the comic she's blue and has like a red sword. It's like a sun sword, so I don't. But that could change forever from time to time. But also, new Groot is awesome. Mega Groot, huge monster.
Mega Groot.
Groot.
Yeah, because at first you think that they're just sitting on a boulder, but then sitting on like a boulder, but then you realize that boulder is Groot, and now he's just like absolutely huge. He has reached like his peak
I was
form.
looking the whole time for Groot in the background, and then man just stands up.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was awesome. Yeah.
I would love to see. I know this is random, but I would love to see Michael B. Jordan maybe take on the Guardians role with his love of anime and how much he likes to use anime and fights it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he could do some really cool stuff with a team like Guardians in a science fiction world.
Oh yeah, that'd be neat. I would love that. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And then we got one more stinger to talk about.
Yeah, but we then get a second post credit scene with Star Lord, on it's on Earth with Star Lord, with Star Lord catching up with his grandfather, talking about things that have been going on, and it's a nice scene. Then at the very end, we get a title card saying the legendary Star Lord will return. So so I thought that was very interesting, and I'm very very curious to see what they're gonna end up doing with Star Lord, and like the Guardians in general, both the new lineup and the old lineup in the so I'm very curious to see see what's gonna happen after this.
Yeah, me too. I'm extremely curious. When that title card, I was they're writing him off. I didn't think that they would say he would return, because I thought he had a great emotional ending. But I'm also extremely happy that he is returning because Chris Pratt as Star Lord is phenomenal,
Yeah, he's great.
and I love the character, and I would love to see more of him. So I'm not complaining at all, and I hope that we do get a Guardians 4 at some point. I would love it to feel fresh though, and not try
Mhm.
to copy James's style, because that would be a bad idea.
Yeah,
To not bring in someone to copy, that will not end well.
yeah.
Uh, and I hope Chris Pratt could be a part of that, or maybe he into like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or something like that. Who knows? There's a whole lot of possibilities for him to return now in the MCU. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Another thing about Star Lord, is that I mentioned earlier that the film, having stakes and being worried for the characters. Like I was legit, I was legit thinking that the Star Lord was gonna die, that they were gonna kill him off, and like, and like and like and like I was like, that's ballsy.
I was scared.
Yeah, it was
That was
intense. Yeah,
it was intense. It was a great scene. And I was worried when he started freezing up. I was like, oh, he's fine. They did that in the first movie. He's got plenty of time. And
yeah,
then his face started
puffing up.
expanding,
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, this guy's dead.
yeah,
Like, no. And then it
yeah.
turns out Warlock saved them. Good. It's all good, because I was
It's like
not
Total Recall. Yeah,
I was not emotionally ready for him to die like that. Oh no,
I
no.
know. Yeah,
I'm happy the way it worked out. I'm happy. I'm happy the ending we got. It's very happy. It's uplifting. It's positive for a change with these characters. Something's positive, and it's nice. It's a great ending.
yeah, absolutely. All right, that was our review of Guardians Volume 3. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the film and on this review. Give the video a like,